Welcome to PBS 39 Scholastic Scrimmage. Scholastic Scrimmage is brought to you by the members of PBS 39 and by
Scholastic Scrimmage is sponsored by St. Luke's University Health Network, the region's leading provider of medical education. For more than 100 years, St. Luke's has been dedicated to educating physicians, nurses, and healthcare professionals. To learn more, call St. Luke's InfoLink, toll free at 866 St. Luke's, or visit sluhn.org.
And now your host, Dr. Karen Walton, Provost DeSales University.
Welcome to Scholastic Scrimmage. This is the 11th contest of the 2016-2017 academic year. It's also the 43rd year that PBS 39 has brought you this academic competition. I'm Karen Walton, and I'm delighted to be your host. From now until May, the best and brightest students from 30 schools will compete for the honor of being the Scholastic Scrimmage champions. At the end of the season, the two final teams will win scholarships for their schools from the Air Products Foundation. Let's meet the team from Northern Lehigh High School.
I'm Cole Cheswell, I'm a freshman.
I'm Kyle Detweiler, I'm a junior.
I'm Matthew Schmoyer, I'm a junior.
I'm Wyatt DeLands, I'm a senior.
Northern Lehigh's coach is Michael Latonen. And now the team from Lehighton High School.
I'm Brianna Hoffner, and I'm a junior.
I'm Ryan Mader, and I'm a senior.
I'm Michael Bondrono, and I'm a junior.
I'm Matthew Eckhart, and I'm a senior.
Lehighton's coaches are Sharon Leitzel and Melissa Volsky. The judges for today's contest are Sally Campbell, retired English teacher, and Dr. Gary DeLeo, professor of physics at Lehigh University. Remember that the questions on Scholastic Scrimmage demand rapid recall of factual information and are not necessarily indicative of academic training. We understand the rules, so let's begin the contest with a toss-up in world history. In July 1903, Maurice Garin won the first annual bicycle race in France. Name this race. Northern Lehigh?
Tour de France.
Bonus. Which two men, whose first names are Charles and Henry, founded an automobile company in Manchester, England in 1903? This company's Silver Ghost was introduced in 1906.
Rolls-Royce.
Rolls and Royce are the names. You are correct. And your next toss-up is in world history. Which religion, credited to no particular founder and without prophets or a set creed, is the religion of over 80% of the people in India? Northern Lehigh?
Buddhism.
Goes over to Lehighton. Hinduism is correct. For your bonus, of the three main gods in the Hindu religion, which one is considered the creator of the universe? It is Brahma. Next toss-up is in mathematics. Given a 2-inch by 2-inch square with semicircles constructed on each side, draw yourself a picture. What is the total area of the figure bounded by the semicircles and including the square? It is 4 plus 2 pi square units. Toss up in world literature. In what long prose narrative sequel to a famous fantasy would you find a Jabberwock, the ferocious monster, and title character in the poem Jabberwocky? Northern Lehigh, Lehighton.
Alice in Wonderland.
I will throw it over to Northern Lehigh. Northern Lehigh?
Through the Looking Glass.
Through the Looking Glass is correct. And your bonus is this. Name the character in Through the Looking Glass who participates in a chess game, is kindly and chivalrous, rescues Alice from the Red Knight, and according to some critics, is a caricature of Lewis Carroll himself. It's the White Knight. Next toss-up is in chemistry. Name the nuclear process represented by the equation on the monitor. Northern Lehigh
Nuclear fusion.
is correct. And your bonus, hydrogen is fused in a hydrogen bomb. What celestial object also generates energy using fusion reactions? Matthew?
A star.
Yes, a star or the sun. The next toss-up, of course, this sun is a star, huge star. Toss-up in world history. Give the name of the political system that was established by Hitler upon seizing control of Germany in 1933. Lehighton,
Sorry. Dictatorship.
over to Northern Lehigh. Northern Lehigh, Ryan. Kyle. It was Matt.
Totalitarianism.
Nazism is the particular one. And your next toss-up is in world geography. What country shares a border with all the countries listed on the monitor? Northern Lehigh?
Iraq.
Yes. And your bonus for 5 points each. Give the capitals of these two Arab League states. First, Sudan. Matthew?
Khartoum.
Next, Yemen. Matthew?
Muscat.
It is Sana'a. Toss up in mathematics, multiple choice. Is the two-dimensional graph of the inequality x minus y less than 2 a line, a closed half plane, or an open half plane? Northern Lehigh?
An open half plane.
You are correct, and make one change to that inequality so that the corresponding graph is a closed half plane. Matthew?
X minus y is less than or equal to 2.
Correct. Toss up in chemistry. What numbers do the elements of the actinide series occupy on the periodic table? Lehighton?
79 to 105.
Over to Northern Lehigh. '89 to 103. It was a good try, Lehighton, but not close enough. Next toss-up is U.S. history. Identify the 5-time candidate for the U.S. presidency who, when he was once told by a member of the Kentucky legislature that his views would interfere with his chance of becoming president, answered, "Sir, I would rather be right than be president." Henry Clay. Toss up in world literature. Circe warned Ulysses about this monster, originally a sea nymph who had been changed into a monster with 6 heads on long, snaky necks. Northern Lehigh?
Hydra.
I will continue for Lehighton. She would seize crew members of passing ships in each of her 6 mouths. Name the monster.
Leviathan.
It is Scylla. Scylla and Charybdis on 2 sides. Geometry. Give the equation that defines all points on the Cartesian plane that are 2 units from the point 1, 1. That's a circle with the center at 1, 1 and a radius of 2, so it would be x minus 1 quantity squared plus y minus 1 quantity squared is equal to 4. Toss up in arts. What Dutch artist painted the piece on the monitor entitled Woman Holding a Balance? It's very dark, so it's a Vermeer, very dark. Toss up in biology. Arteries carry blood away from the heart. What carries blood to the heart? Lee Heighton?
Veins.
Yes. And your bonus? Name the medical procedure in which a tiny balloon connected to a catheter is threaded through an artery until it reaches a blocked area. It is then inflated to compress the fatty material forming the blockage.
Coronary bypass.
It is angioplasty. They do angioplasty to try to prevent the coronary bypass procedure. Toss up in U.S. geography. Identify the Appalachian mountain range that extends from southern Pennsylvania to northern Georgia. Northern Lehigh.
Great Smoky Mountains.
Over to Lee Heighton. Blue Ridge Mountains. The next toss-up is in language arts. In 1992, Hurricane Andrew blew the leaves from thousands of mangroves growing on the coasts of Florida and Louisiana. What is the 5-syllable name for such a loss of leaves? Northern Lehigh?
Defoliation.
Yes. Bonus. Spell defoliation, no correcting yourself once you begin. Matthew?
D-E-F-O-L-I-A-T-I-O-N.
Correct. Toss up in mathematics. Find the complex conjugate of the number 2 minus 3i. Two plus 3i is the complex conjugate. Toss up in music. What is the title of this composition?
Stars and Stripes Forever.
Correct, and your bonus. Known as the March King, who composed this selection? Ryan?
John Philip Sousa.
Yes. Toss up in world history. The ruler, Peter the Great, is on the monitor. Give the last name or dynasty of this Russian ruler. It is Romanov. U.S. geography. What are the 4 states of the United States which are located at the point called Four Corners? Northern Lehigh, Matthew?
Colorado, New Mexico, Utah, and Arizona.
Yes, and your bonus. The beautiful mission on the monitor, known as the White Dove of the Desert, was built between 1783 and 1797 on a Native American reservation. For 5 points each, give the name of the mission and the city in which it is located. It is San Xavier in Tucson, Arizona. That's very difficult. It is halftime. The halftime score is 20 for Lee Heighton and 95 for Northern Lehigh. In the first round, we asked the students to mention a mentor or a role model. So let's begin with Northern Lehigh. Cole?
My dad.
Thank you.
My band director, Mr. Carroll.
All of both of my parents.
Thank you.
Probably my one swim coach, Jim.
Thank you. Go over to Lee Heighton.
My mom.
My physics teacher, Mr. Bowman.
My science Olympiad coach, Mr. Bowman.
My art teacher for 4 years, Mr. Enoch, who encouraged me to pursue art despite being colorblind.
Thank you. Let's continue with a toss-up in British literature. Identify the novel from which these lines come. The creatures outside looked from pig to man, and from man to pig, and from pig to man again, and already it was impossible to say which was which. That's Animal Farm. Biology. What do the letters A, B, AB, and O? Lee Heighton.
Blood types.
Blood types is correct, and your bonus. Based on structure, there are 3 types of muscular tissue. For 5 points each, name 2 of them. Ryan.
Cardiac and skeletal.
That is correct. Smooth is the last one, so you did get all 10 points of that bonus. Toss-up in mathematics. What branch of mathematics was developed by great thinkers including Descartes, Pascal, Newton, Northern Lehigh?
Geometry.
I will continue. Pascal, Newton, and Leibniz.
Calculus.
Is correct, and your bonus. What is the derivative with respect to x of the equation on the monitor? The time is up. The derivative is 12x cubed plus 6x squared minus 10x. Toss-up in physics, multiple choice. When a long-haired woman puts her hands on a Van de Graaff generator, that is a large conducting sphere with charge being delivered to it by a conveyor belt, her hair stands on end. Which of the following explains this phenomenon? A, like charges attract. B, like charges repel. Lee Heighton?
B, like charges repel.
Yes. Bonus, multiple choice. A solid copper sphere has a charge of plus Q on it. Where on the sphere does the charge reside? A, plus Q at the center of the sphere. B, Q divided by 2 on the center, and Q divided by 2 on the outer surface. C, plus Q on the outer surface, or D, the charge is spread evenly throughout the sphere. Ryan?
C.
Is correct, plus Q on the outer surface. Toss-up in American literature. In 1906, Upton Sinclair wrote this novel that exposed the unsanitary conditions.
The Jungle.
I believe it was Northern Lehigh. Northern Lehigh.
The Jungle.
Yes. And your bonus. Upton Sinclair was one of this group of writers whose work could be considered reform or expose literature. The term for this group was used negatively by President Theodore Roosevelt when, borrowing from John Bunyan, he referred to a man who could look no way but downward. The term later took on favorable connotations of social concern and courageous exposure of injustice. Name the term. Matthew?
Muckraker.
Yes. Toss-up in mathematics. If the intersection of sets A and B equals A, What relationship exists between sets A and B? A is a subset of B. You could have drawn yourself a picture, and maybe that would have helped. Next toss-up is in chemistry, multiple choice. Which piece of laboratory equipment is used to deliver a volume of titrant in a titration? Is it 1, Erlenmeyer flask, 2, graduated cylinder, 3, beaker, or 4, burette? Northern Lehigh?
Burette.
Yes, and your bonus. If a titration volume somewhere between 15 and 25 milliliters were delivered from the burette, how many significant figures should the actual recorded volume contain? Matthew?
It should contain 3 significant figures.
4 significant figures. Next toss-up is in world history. In 1976, Israeli commandos freed hostages from the airport in what African city? Entebbe. Toss-up in mathematics. What is the mathematical equation converting degrees Celsius into degrees Kelvin? Northern Lehigh?
Celsius plus 273.15 equals Kelvin.
That is correct. And your bonus? What is the first step you would take to solve the equation on the monitor? Matthew?
You would square the left half of the equation.
No, you would multiply the numerator and denominator of that fraction by radical x plus 1 quantity plus radical x minus 1. In other words, take the denominator and change the sign and multiply the numerator and denominator by that quantity. The next toss-up is American literature. What novel chronicles the Depression-era difficulties of the Joad family?
The Grapes
Lee
of Wrath.
Heighton?
The Grapes of Wrath.
And your bonus. Name the Steinbeck novel that depicts 2 generations of brothers, Adam and Charles, and the sons of Adam, Aaron and Caleb, in a recreation of the biblical story of Cain and Abel. It is east of Eden. Toss up in world geography. Which Asian peninsula, with an area of more than 1 million square miles, is separated from Africa by the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden on the west, from the Northern Lehigh?
Arabian Peninsula.
Correct. Bonus. For 5 points each, name the 2 largest of the bodies of water separating the Arabian Peninsula from Africa and the rest of Asia. Matthew?
Red Sea and Persian Gulf.
You got both correct. Next toss-up is in British literature. Eliza Doolittle is an uneducated flower girl transformed into a lady in Lerner and Lowe's musical My Fair Lady. Upon what British play is My Fair Lady based? Pygmalion by Shaw. Next toss-up is in mathematics. If y equals x to the 4/3 power and x is equal to 8, what real numbers does y equal? What real number? It is 16. World history. Who was stabbed to death on the Ides of March? Lee Heighton.
Julius Caesar.
Yes. What Shakespearean queen floated down the Nile, quote, "The barge she sat in, like a burnished throne, burned on the water. Purple the sails, and so perfumed that the winds were love-sick with them." Ryan?
Cleopatra.
Yes. Toss up in geography. Name the part of the Earth that has a period of time in summer where the sun never sets and lies above 66 degrees 32 minutes north latitude. Northern Lehigh.
Northern polar ice cap.
Over to Lehighton.
Circle.
I will take the Arctic and your bonus. The name is given to what name is given to a large accumulation of sediment, often fan-shaped, deposited where a river ends the sea or enters the sea or a lake? Ryan?
Alluvian fan.
It is called a delta. And the next toss-up is in biology. The condition known as beriberi results from the absence of what specific vitamin? Lehighton?
Vitamin C.
It is B1. The contest is over. Northern Lehigh is 145 and Lehighton is 100. Thank you, Lehighton, for being with us. Congratulations to Northern Lehigh. We'll see you for a second round later in the season. Thank you for watching and supporting these excellent students. Please join us next week for another contest on Scholastic Scrimmage.
Scholastic Scrimmage is brought to you by the members of PBS 39 and by
Scholastic Scrimmage is sponsored by St. Luke's University Health Network, the region's leading provider of medical education. For more than 100 years, St. Luke's has been dedicated to educating physicians, nurses, and healthcare professionals. To learn more, call St. Luke's InfoLink, toll free at 866 St. Luke's, or visit sluhn.org.